Lewis Hamilton, the man who's been breaking records left, right and centre, especially at Mercedes. And next year, or this year as I should say, or this season even, a month and a half away, he is on the verge of breaking records in Formula 1, black and white records that are... I can't believe that he's in this position right now. Michael Schumacher set 91 wins. He set 7 World Championships. And Lewis Hamilton is chasing them down. Now, it's old news to talk about, is he going to do that or is he not? And we've kerfuffled about that for so long. And there's one man in the backfield who, well, not the backfield, but behind Lewis, who hasn't been there to challenge him yet. Of course, a big contender in the future to fight him, as obviously as long as he stays in Formula 1 for the next few years. But this guy thinks he can stop him this season, and that, of course, is Max Verstappen. Now, Max is a contender for World Championships galore. He has taken Formula 1 by storm. In that Red Bull car, he is a fierce driver. He's got a race that's basically been brought back just for him this year. He's incredible, really. What he's done with Red Bull is great. And Red Bull, good car, but really nowhere. Nothing compared to the Ferraris and nothing compared to the Mercedes. A little bit of kind of, will they do that? How will they compare against Ferrari and Seb and Charles and Valtteri and Lewis? But not getting there, unfortunately. Now, of course, in the Constructors' Championship, they still finished behind Mercedes. They were a good challenger. Obviously, they were, in a good position to fight, but nothing really from them. But Max has come out with some statements against Mercedes and against Lewis that's saying that they will be able to compete against them, they will have a strong enough car. And the biggest news, the biggest statement in this one-liner that come out challenging Lewis, he has said Lewis Hamilton is good, but he's not God. Now, firstly, of course, he is not God. He's not up there with Jesus. But Lewis Hamilton, now a lot of people do say he's God, or the GOAT, or the sheep. No, I'm not joking, the GOAT. The greatest of all time. Lewis Hamilton might be that position. And of course, he is revered as one of, if not the best Formula 1 driver we've ever seen. Of course, the best driver we are seeing right now, in front of our eyes, we are seeing records being broken. But Max Verstappen, a man who, should be looking up to him. I mean, Lewis is, he's not double, he's creeping up to, no, he's not creeping up to double his age, but he's older than Max, he's an elder, he should be looking up to him. But there we go, that's just not that respect in that one liner. So I'd say that statement is pretty big from Max. He says that it is a very car-dependent sport, Formula 1, and Lewis is a good driver, but in that Mercedes car, he's relying on Mercedes being the top team anymore. So in this episode, we're going to talk about, can Max get there? Is Red Bull up for the challenge against Mercedes this year? And in Lewis Hamilton's probably biggest season since he came into Formula 1, why does Max think that he can stop Lewis right now? So Jordan, of course, Lewis Hamilton going for 91 wins. He's going to probably exceed that, obviously, as long as the season goes well for him. And considering how his track record is with Mercedes, it's going to go that way. If he does win the World Championship, of course, he is tied with Michael Schumacher. And obviously that means that opens up 2021 to obviously become 8 and, break that. But he will be tied with that. Obviously, it will be a massive achievement for him. So if Max and if Red Bull couldn't stop Mercedes and Lewis, why do they think that they'll do it this year? Because obviously, as we said in the prediction video, this year Mercedes and Lewis are gonna give Lewis everything that they possibly can to try and get this championship. Why does Max believe that he can stop him this year? And if anything, he's the only driver over like Seb and people like that who can stop him.
I think that the statement that Max read was more down to mind games, if I'm talking this. I think the mind games have set in quite early. Obviously, everyone knows that how good Lewis Hamilton is in that Mercedes car and how good the Mercedes car has been in recent years. And of course, 2020 is going to be no different, in my opinion. And I think 2020, they could be just as dominant or even more dominant. So I think Max knows that Red Bull have a slight chance of maybe challenging for the title. So of course he's going to be saying stuff like this where it's like, oh, he's all right, but he's not God or he's not the best or whatever. But sorry, Max, gotta disagree. All right, he isn't God, clearly, but he's a lot better than you, in my opinion. Now, a lot of people might disagree with me on that, but I'm sorry, but I think Hamilton's a better driver than Max at this current time. But certainly Red Bull know Red Bull know that they have a really good car on their hands, judging by maybe the Delta or whatever, like the wind tunnel times, or firing up the car or whatever. So they'll know that maybe this car's looking better than what we thought, or compared to the 2019 car, the numbers are looking a lot better. But how better compared to the Mercedes? So therefore, Red Bull could be like teasing Mercedes and go, well, you don't know what we've got on our car. Like, I bet you can't wait to see what we've got. But I bet Mercedes will be saying the exact same thing towards them. So I think it's at the moment it's just all like mind games and like just I'm going to say this into the media, because Lewis Hamilton probably won't even respond to that. He'll just look at it and go, yeah, mate. How many wins have you got compared to me? We'll just leave it at that, shall we? How many titles have you got? Sorry, none. Yeah, I'm not being like an arsehole towards Max or anything like that, because I like Max, and Max has got a big future ahead of him. But Red Bull certainly are going to be backing Verstappen a lot this season. And one of the main reasons is so that Max can become the youngest ever world champion by about 3 or 4 months, should he win it at Abu Dhabi. So, or even he could win it even earlier than that, but obviously the last race he could win it by, if he is to become the youngest ever world champion, is Abu Dhabi. So of course that's Red Bull's aim, and the Red Bull are going to be using all their power and everything to back Max to push for that title and hope Mercedes slip up, which is a very rare occasion. And Mercedes know that Hamilton could be breaking these records, and they'll be going, well, not only are we going to be witnessing F1 history, but Hamilton could be breaking those records in our very car. Mercedes will want that so badly, just so they've got that right of, oh, well, Hamilton did all this. He's the best F1 driver on stats ever, and he did it all in a Mercedes. And Hamilton knows that. Well, I think Hamilton in his head will know what's coming. But typically, when the interviewers come up to testing, the press and everything, just asking Lewis, you could be going for 7 Schumacher's record. What do you think about that? Or have you got a 7th title on your mind? And the 91 wins, he'll just go, no, taking it race by race, blah, blah. It'll be the same sort of rubbish. So really, I wouldn't be shocked as to what he says. He won't respond to Max. He might just go, well, yeah, Red Bull are a good team. Max is a good driver. He's got a good future, but I'll be working hard. I'll be knuckling down and da. Like, you know what he's going to say. So even if someone in the pen asks him about this quote, Lewis is just going to just shove it off. He's just going to go, yeah, whatever, mate. But certainly Max has got a really good season ahead of him. So, Lyle, where are you standing with like the whole Verstappen on Hamilton thing? Do you think Max has got enough in him? Let's say Red Bull have got a really good car in their hands, and obviously so have Mercedes. Do you think Max has got enough to beat Lewis on sheer pace? Let's say the cars are quite similar on pace, for example, just on hindsight. Do you think Max has got the talent and speed to beat the experience of Lewis, or do you think Lewis would just whitewash him completely? What's your thoughts?
I think at this time Lewis would beat Max. Max he's a fast driver. He's been good in that car. Of course, he's been better than his teammates that he's had. But Lewis understands the sport more. He's got more knowledge about it. Alain Prost, when he was a professor, the reason why that kind of came about so impressive was because he understood, what he needed to do in a race, how he had to win. And Lewis has more of that in Max. There's a lot of jokes about Max just going out, speed over everything. And at the end of the day, that's just not the best kind of mentality for Formula One. You need to do more conservation. You need to know kind of more of the ins and outs and the mature side. Like, I know obviously Max is only 22 and Lewis is in, his mid-30s. But Lewis has that more maturity over Max. He knows what he needs to do in that car. He knows what he needs to do in that Mercedes. He just understands the sport more, and I think that's not a bad thing for Max, because of course there's one thing that he can't help, which of course is age. Lewis was, he was winning races when Max was still in school or even younger, so he can't help that. I think that's just something that comes about. I think he will give him a good challenge, and it would be good to see, and also it just kind of opens up the fact of, we're looking at Sebastian Vettel. It's somebody who can challenge Lewis, and really is the only person who can challenge Lewis. Obviously, also Valtteri Bottas, but Sebastian Vettel is the only opposing guy who can challenge Lewis Hamilton. And the reason why I was saying that is because of the age. We're looking at Sebastian and saying, right, you've got 4 world champions, as well as you being in a Ferrari, because obviously Ferrari and Mercedes, or at least Ferrari versus someone else, has to happen. A bit like Alonso. Alonso had to fight someone. Schumacher had to fight someone. So Sebastian Vettel is the only guy who can fight Lewis. And we're saying that because Sebastian's a 4-time world champion. He has loads of experience. He has almost, about 50 odd. I think he might have over 50 wins, something like around 50. And he is really the only guy who can challenge him because he's got experience, over a decade in Formula One. But with Charles Leclerc, he's changing it. And also Max. maybe it's not the experience. I don't know if they're going to win these battles, but it's good to see that we're kind of getting to this point where it's kind of false to think that only Sebastian can go after Lewis. We're now looking at people like Max and Charles who can go after Lewis. But obviously, like I said at the start though, Jordan, if they're not going to do that at the start, they're not going to do that this year, because as well as Mercedes are probably going to have a very good car when it gets to, next week and 2 weeks and 3 weeks time when we get to testing, but also is, even if Mercedes have a so-so car like a Ferrari car this year, Lewis will be on his A game. Like, if you follow him on Instagram, he's always posting photos, he's underweight, he's doing more training, he's doing more of everything really, and he's getting in a better mindset to go out and go, I am going after these records. This can be a game changer like nothing you've ever seen before. And it is like nothing we've ever seen before, because you will only remember the last goal or the last 5 minutes of a game or something. You'll only remember the last bit, the bit that counts. And if Lewis is getting towards the end of his career, we're only going to remember this season. So he's going to be on his game like nothing we've ever seen before. So I think to say that Max could stop Lewis, maybe a few seasons. If Lewis was the 2018 Lewis or the 2017 Lewis, in Max is, of course, like the 2019 / going into 2020 Max, yes, he could have a challenge against him. Like these amazing races that Max have won. I know that there's been other drama in the race that have, for example, given why F1 have given it the race of the year, for example, like Brazil in Germany in 19. But it's also Max's driving. He's formidable. He's a strong driver. So if he was fighting against the 2017 Lewis in that form, you could say Lewis was, a few years younger as well. You could say Lewis is the same age. That's when Max could have a chance. But from what he's learned in the last few years, Lewis Hamilton, how the car works, of course, the advancing technologies, the things that he's had on his shoulders as well, obviously, like the situation, obviously, the passing of Niki Lauda as well, what he's had to deal with in the team, obviously, Valtteri Bottas fighting against him. I would say, really, Lewis has, since Nico Rosberg beat him in 2016, Lewis has started to mature more. And we're seeing a different side of Lewis. He beat Ayrton Senna in pole positions, and then he beat Michael Schumacher in pole positions. Again, that was another hurdle for Lewis Hamilton. He beat Valtteri Bottas. He showed that he can he can beat another teammate. And then now we are seeing a new and improved Lewis Hamilton. And this year he is going to be absolutely formidable. So I don't think anyone can bring the fight to Lewis. But that's just as a driver, though. Of course, Max says that it is very car dependent. Formula One in his quote is why he said Lewis Hamilton is good, but he's not God. Mercedes are giving him the best car. So Jordan, obviously we do agree with that. Of course, it's not 50. You can't say it's just all about the driver, but instead of looking at what Mercedes can do, let's look at what Red Bull can do. What Mercedes can't do, Red Bull can do. So obviously, Max to compete against Lewis, does that mean that Red Bull need to have a better car than Mercedes? Like, better? Or does that mean that if we were on the same level, like if Mercedes and Red Bull have the car that's exactly the same, that's when I can beat them? Or does Max have to be in kind of the roles are reversed? He has to be in the Mercedes type car and Lewis has to be in the Red Bull car for Max to beat them. What do you think in terms of how the cars can help them get forward? And obviously, who do you think will have the best car this year? Obviously, and will that be like the cherry on the cake? Can Lewis do this if he had the Red Bull style Max Verstappen car of 2019?
I think Lewis could probably do it at a very good job in a Red Bull, and Max probably could do a great job in the Mercedes. But of course, it's only ifs and buts. When you move on to that topic, because you don't know how. Like Max could go into the Mercedes and just completely it might not agree with them whatsoever. We've seen that before, where drivers have done really well in one car, moved teams, and they just haven't got the grips with it whatsoever. So that could easily happen. And of course, the Red Bull is suited for Max. The Mercedes is obviously suited for Lewis. But if Red Bull have got some really good facilities, and of course the power unit has let them down quite recently. Of course, with Renault, Honda stepped in. How are they going to do in 2019? They exceeded expectations, in my opinion. Nobody thought they would even win a race in 2019. I think one of the people had a hunch, but it was certainly like are they going to? This is either going to go really well or really badly for Red Bull. It was a gamble and definitely paid off. And the information coming out of Honda at the moment from Red Bull, it's very positive. So I'm expecting good things from their car. And if they do produce a good car, then I think about 60% of it comes down to the car, of course. Actually, no, I'll say about 70% of it comes down to the car. It's very technical, it's very advanced. Without some of the equipment, the drivers wouldn't be able to push as hard or as quick or whatever. And of course, having the advantages to be able to catch the car in front, of course. So it's not just down to them. But if you're like on an equal 11 playing field, so let's say Red Bull make a car that's on par with the Mercedes, then some of it is going to be down to the driver's psychological things. For example, Sebastian Vettel. Now, I'm going to give a quote that Jonty said at Autosport. He said to me that, moving on to Vettel for this one, he said, when Vettel is chasing someone down and he's got nothing to lose, he's one of the best of doing that. When he's in front and he's got everything to lose, he's terrible. He loses it. We've seen that before, and we'll probably see it again. And I think that's very, very true, what Jonty said. And using that quote into this, it's going to be who's got the more bottle. Who can, if like one car's chasing the other one down, who's going to go into that corner? Is anyone going to lock up? Is anyone going to spin? Is anyone going to make any mistakes? And if they're both not making mistakes, I don't know. It's just whoever's got the more power, or whoever's got the better tires, or more fuel, or more engine settings, or whatever. So, and if it does boil down to that, it could be very exciting. But in terms of driver ability, I think Max is good, but like I said, I would say Lewis is better. But certainly Max is not a slow driver. He's a very quick driver, and he's got a big future ahead of him. How big, we don't know. And I think going up against like the likes of Lewis and stuff, which I think will be awesome. But like I've said before, we haven't seen Max in a championship winning battle or position before. Like, we've seen him go up against drivers. Sometimes he's done some brilliant overtakes, and we're like, well done, Max. That was amazing. Some of the times he's made contact with cars, he's put in the barriers, he's done silly mistakes, and that's when everyone goes, is he really mature enough? In 2019, he kind of shushed a lot of haters down. All right, he had his little moments here and there, but at the beginning of 2019 and at the end of 18, certainly he was on that point of, okay, here we go. Max Verstappen has arrived. But like I said, he's never been in a position where he's battling for the championship all year long. So really, it's not going to be a question of has Lewis still got it in him. It's has Max got it in him to stay there. And not only that, if Ferrari pull it out the bag, I'll put Charles Leclerc's name in there as well as a title contender. Vettel, perhaps? I don't know, but I want to say Charles for this one. Now, having Charles and Max together, I think that could get quite spicy, because they're both on a similar kind of playing field. Both of them have never gone for the title. Both of them have had their good moments and bad moments. So, and of course, both relatively new to Formula One. Well, more Charles than Max, of course, but still same age in that. Lewis even said in the winter that he's working extra hard to be able to beat or race against Charles and Max, because he knows how good and how tough they're going to be. And if their representative teams produce a car that's quicker or even roughly the same as the Mercedes, then I think we could be in for a very, very spicy battle. But at the moment in time, I think, in terms of what you said before about who do you think is going to have the better car, certainly, in my opinion, at this moment in time, it'll be Mercedes, really. We always come into pre-season having, Mercedes don't look as good, they don't look as quick, what's going on here and there. Ferrari look fast, Red Bull are putting in some really solid laps, really solid times, over 100 laps per session. Ferrari, most kilometres out of everyone, fastest time out of everyone. It's looking proper good. Mercedes, fourth, fifth times aren't really that good. All right, they're doing some good lap times, but normally the Mercedes are doing a lot of lap times in testing, so they're not really going for like the fastest time. Of course, sandbagging is the term you want to use for that one. Rock up to Australia, qualify, and that's when we're going to see the cars at peak. And of course, that's the first time we'll probably see the pecking order. Who's going to be where? Excuse me, at the top. So obviously, it's going to be Mercedes, probably. I do hope we have like a Max and Charles and maybe Seb in there at some point. But I know that I have mentioned two names there, Lyle, in Bottas and Albon. A lot of people are writing them off, aren't they? We even said before. Well, you said before we recorded that a lot of people are just casting them aside in predictions, like Bottas fourth or fifth, and Hamilton first, and Verstappen second, and Albon fifth and sixth. It's like, why? I think that's something that you said as well that you're going to mention. So I'll let you carry on. I'll let you carry on to that point about
Yeah.
Bottas in Albon.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I've got a mention I want to do. So I mean, my F1 fanatics, they put. I mean, of course, great channel. Go and check them out if you haven't already. We've worked with Mike before. They put out something on Twitter, and it said, something like, "Who do you think will have the better rivalry this year? Sebastian or Charles, the into Ferrari battle, or Lewis and Max?" And it got me thinking. I was like, well, you've said for Ferrari that, Seb and Charles are going to be battling each other. And obviously that's the case for everyone else as well. Ricardo versus Ocon, the Haas battle, Magnussen and Grosjean, things like that. Everyone's going to be battling each other. George and Latifi, I don't know how that's going to go, but, Rookie of the Year coming to Latifi, mind.
Yes.
So, yeah, it leads on to this. It leads on to why do people think that Max is going to battle Lewis? But also, as Jordan said, why do people think that Albon is not going to be at the level of Max and Bottas at Lewis? Two things have come out of that. One, obviously, in terms of the car performance, that means if Red Bull have a good car, that means that Albon is not going to be able to get on it. We've seen from last year that Bottas, of course, can battle against Lewis Hamilton. You only finished one place below him. If someone's occupying first position and that's your teammate, the best position you can get after first position is second, and obviously that's what Bottas did. So really, a Mercedes 1-2, I would say that's great. I mean, that's the best result that the team can get. Like throughout, even a 3-4 is not too bad because obviously they're both bunched together. It shows that they both have similar cars and obviously similar capabilities. So, and of course, you can't go off last year because Max and Albon were two different teams at the start of the year. So why do people think that? Or when I say people, I just mean like kind of in general. There's not been that much kind of buzz around Albon being at the same level as Max and Bottas being. I think that's the big one that's getting me, Jordan. The Bottas and Hamilton, because Bottas wins the first race in Australia. He also wins, throughout the year. Azerbaijan, Japan, great. I think Japan was probably the best win Bottas could say he's had. I mean, Azerbaijan, great. Australia, how about that? It just showed that people were writing him off, saying that he couldn't compete against Lewis. And then he does that. A second position, a good haul of points. And obviously, for me, the best result, actually, the US, I was going to say probably his best win for me, because the US for me was amazing. He knew that he couldn't stop Lewis. He stopped him Lewis could have won it in Mexico, and he stopped that happening in Mexico. And he brought it to the US, where there was no chance Bottas was going to win. And of course, Lewis did win the championship. But he pushed it so far to stop him. The best position you can get in a race is first place, and that's what Bottas got to stop him winning the race. Sorry, to winning the... He could have stopped him. He could have done that, but the best Bottas could have done is first place. And that's why I think he's a great driver. So Jordan, Bottas finishes second place, a good haul of points, gets on the board before Lewis even does in Australia. So why now, and obviously for you as well, because you don't put a 1-2 for Bottas and Hamilton, why would Hamilton be so far up and Bottas wouldn't be, especially after what happened in 2019? Obviously a great 1-2 and obviously winner of the Australian Grand Prix.
Well, if you cast your mind back to the start of 2019, there was a lot of pressure on Bottas already because he had a winless 2018 and everyone had big doubts about Bottas. All right, he had a good season in 17, but 18 was just terrible, and everyone was like, well, is he the driver that we all thought he was going to beat Mercedes and that? Because everyone was tipping him for all right things. Like, it wasn't probably the best choice for Mercedes to pick. There could have been better drivers at the time, but certainly in terms of availability, Bottas was the more sensible option. In 19, yeah, he's had a solid year in 2019. 4 wins, I think he got throughout the course of the year, and of course that brilliant one in Australia to kick things off. I mean, that certainly surprised a lot of people. But if I say to you, for example, like Bottas has only had 7 wins in 3 years at Mercedes compared to Lewis's 60 odd or whatever, 70 odd, or however many he's had at Mercedes, it's a big difference between Hamilton and Bottas. Alright, Bottas has been there for less time than Lewis, but by the time Lewis had been there for 3 years, he'd already won 2 World Championships in a handful of races, and Bottas, I'm sorry, he's looking a million miles away from that. Even though Bottas finished second, In terms for Mercedes, they're not bothered whether Bottas wins a championship or not. That's not their priority. Mercedes' priority is to get both drivers scoring the point so that they can win the constructors. That's Mercedes' priority, the constructors. They'll help out the drivers to win the championship for whatever reason, should they need to intervene with either driver. But certainly for them, if Bottas is scoring points for Mercedes to win the championship, he'll stay there until it's time for, maybe it's time to get someone new in for the future, which I think will be very soon. But in terms of Bottas psychologically, if you look at the points difference between Bottas and Lewis, despite him finishing second, it was about 70 odd points, I think it was. That's a big gap between yourself and your teammate, let alone your championship rival, your teammate. 70 odd points. So Bottas in 2019 was good, but certainly for himself there is room for improvement, and he knows this. And he said that he's got a few secrets up his sleeve about how to beat Lewis in 2020, but he's not going to reveal anything just yet. So again, I don't know if that's mind games or if that is generally true. I don't know, but I'm very excited to see what these kind of things are. No, it's not porridge. If anybody says that it's not porridge, leave that in 2019, please. It's yeah. Anyways, and no, it's not James. That's 2018. Just leave that there, please. It's new year, new decade. Forget all that. But I think Bottas certainly knows that he will want to win the championship, but he won't at Mercedes, and I don't think he ever will in Formula One unless he pulls off a Rosberg and just manages to beat Lewis. But for me, when Rosberg was there, Rosberg was on par with Hamilton, and Bottas in 2019 it was certainly the closest he's been, but it's not close enough because look at how big the points gap was, and just proves how good Lewis is. Yeah, Lewis is a better driver than Bottas, but certainly Bottas could be doing a lot better. Because we've seen like teammates before like have like a really close battle, so I don't know, but probably the reason why people are ruling out putting Bottas so low is because that they know that, well, maybe the same theory as me. Because when I made my predictions, I put Bottas 5th, which is quite low compared to where he was last year, maybe where some of you guys think he's going to finish. But I think, that Mercedes are going to prioritise Lewis so much to get that 7th World Championship and the 91 wins, they're going to forget about Bottas. I really do think that. Leave him hanging out to dry in some strategies and just collect as much points as he can. But I can't see Bottas having a sniff of that championship this year. I could be totally wrong, of course. I'm not saying that this is a guarantee. That's just my thoughts. That's what I'm thinking that Mercedes would do if Hamilton wasn't in a position of winning a record championship, a record equaling championship. I might have predicted Bottas to finish higher, even world champion in some cases. But certainly, why would Mercedes back Bottas to win the championship when they know that Lewis could easily do it and match Schumacher's record, as like I said at the beginning of the video, in their very car? That's what they want in 2020. That's their aim. And certainly that's what Lewis's aim is, certainly in 2020. And flipping over the big to mention earlier about Albon, Albon's to be fair, we all know how unpredictable Albon can be because we all said Albon would finish last in 2019, and he didn't. He finished 7th, 8th. When did he finish? 8th. 7th, 8th. He finished around there, I don't know. I know all I know is that Carlos Sainz finished 6th. Brilliant. That's all I know. That's all I need to know. I think he finished 8th because I think Gasly was 7th. And Albon had a brilliant start to his Red Bull career, on par with Max on some occasions, scored more points than what Gasly did in the same duration of races. So that's pretty impressive. But there's a lot of pressure on Albon now because, like I said in F1 24/7, I think, that the points reset back to 0. So, and when Albon came into Red Bull, there was no way that Red Bull were going to catch a Ferrari, and there was no way that they were going to lose 3rd place to McLaren. They were too far away. So therefore, Albon came in and just go, I've got the seat for the rest of the season. I'm just going to drive the best I possibly can. And yeah, it worked. But now the points have reset back to 0. Now what? You've got nowhere to hide, Albon. You've got nowhere to hide. I've got full faith in Albon, but whether he can deliver or not, I don't know. And maybe again, Red Bull will not be backing Albon much. Certainly backing Verstappen because, like I said, they want him to become the youngest world champion to do it in their car, and then Red Bull can go, oh, well, the past 2 youngest drivers of all time have been in our car, blah 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 blah. Who cares? Who the hell cares? Verstappen will win a championship. Whether that'll be next season, I really don't know. I doubt it. I doubt it. I hope he does, but I hope we get a good fight. Someone different. I do like a new winner in F1. When Rosberg won, I was amazed. When Vettel won it was great. When Hamilton won it again, it felt like a new winner because it's been that long. But certainly, Red Bull will have all eyes on Verstappen, so maybe they will be leaving Albon out to dry. But who knows? Ferrari could rock up with a shocking car and finish P5 and P6, and Red Bull could finish in P3 and P4, or even P4 and P2. Who knows? Let's see how it goes. But so yeah, Lyle, where's your stance with Albon in the case, like in the same way about Bottas? Do you think that? Are you on my kind of level that maybe that Verstappen and Hamilton will be prioritised too much, that they'll kind of forget about Albon and Bottas and they'll be number 2 drivers? Or do you think that no, I think they'll prioritise both drivers and just try to do the best job they can for the team? What's your thoughts?
See, I disagree with the Hamilton favouritism. Obviously, Mercedes wanted to win because it's their reputation. But remember Nico Rosberg. Now, like Jordan and like many of you guys out there, my love for Nico was like, it wasn't there. But every single day that he's not in Formula 1, you think back to when he was in Formula 1 and you realise what he did. And you're like, oh my God, like he was amazing. Well, not amazing, but he was good. Because, right, so Jordan said that Hamilton will be prioritised, but he'd won the championship in 2014 and then a stormer in 2015, of which the Mercedes was split apart. Remember the cap gate, and Mercedes were kind of getting on that part of where like it wasn't that friendly anymore. Nico Rosberg had won the last 3 rounds, obviously on a run, but I mean 3 wins on the trot. Wowee, like Vettel did that. He got 7 in a row in 2013. I think it was on 9 in a row. Yeah. 7 in a row at the end. 9 in a row, yeah, at the end of 2013. So people have done that before. So there was no reason why Nico Rosberg was put in the lead in number 1 driver position for 2016. Actually, do you know what? He probably wasn't. Lewis was for sure number 1, and Nico was number 2. And really, to me, Nico did that, a lot of it on his own. Because, again, like I was saying to Jordan, the Abu Dhabi 2016, when he got that radio message, no one was really on his side. I think Paddy Lowe was there, and then obviously Vivian, his wife, was there. Nobody really, like with Lewis Hamilton, Will Smith has done it, Matthew McConaughey, obviously he's got everyone from the team, Bono, Total Wolff, obviously the late Niki Lauda. Everyone's been on the radio to congratulate Lewis Hamilton. And with Nico, it wasn't. And to me, it felt like he did that on his own. He was a number 2 driver, and he did that on his own. And also the team, they didn't favouritize Lewis so much, but the deck wasn't stacked in Nico's favour. So I feel like in the case of Bottas, is that he can do it. The team won't completely shut him out in the dark. But yeah, you're right, Jordan. Obviously, they will want Lewis to win. It'll probably be about 70-30 in the team. But that doesn't give that doesn't give Valtteri the excuse to sit back and use that as an excuse to say, well, the team are giving Lewis everything, they're not giving me anything, and that's why. And again, Australia 2019, Jordan, how about that? You said it in the review. The first words we ever said on the channel in 2019, after when the season had started. And that's why it was, how about that? Look at this, to whom it may concern. Valtteri, it's James. No, James, it's Valtteri. So, because it proved the point that Valtteri can do this when the team are in Lewis's corner. And again, that might be like Verstappen, like Vettel, because Vettel was famous for basically, like, it's like Vettel was playing Minecraft and built Red Bull's factory just on his own. Because Vettel, the team were built around Vettel, or Vettel stood still and the team built like a dome around him, a bit like what they're doing at Chernobyl right now. So Vettel led that team, and it's kind of what they're saying Max Verstappen's doing, even though the team are a bit more implemented now. With all that's gone on with the trading places, Alex Albon needs to fight to keep his seat. And obviously, as I said in the prediction video, that'll drive him to get the best result for himself. But like Mercedes and like Bottas, they won't favour those 2 drivers so much that they'll leave the other one in the dark, because the other drivers should be strong enough to say, well, look, I'm a strong driver, I can do this, I've got the resources to fight against, and it'll be it'll be very impressive when they do. If Bottas can do what he did in 2019, win the first race of the season, win races when we're not expecting him to. I mean, like, you even look at Baku, for example. That was part of their amazing, I think it was 7-1-2s on the trot. And then he won, 2 of those races. He kind of broke up Lewis Hamilton. Yes, Bahrain was Lewis. Yes, China was Lewis. And then Bahrain was Valtteri, but he did it in so much style as well. And, even Monaco was a good fight from him as well, obviously fighting throughout the season, as I've just said, denying him in Mexico. Really, as much as he could, denying him in the USA, but of course it wasn't enough. The win in Japan, he's had an incredible season, and I feel like he's just going to keep doing that. But everything he's done at Mercedes has been against the team, really, because the team's always been in Lewis's favour. And like Albon, the team will be in Max's favour as well. Less so at Red Bull, and obviously he might not do as well as Bottas because Albon's not as experienced as Bottas. But Bottas should have the experience to be up there with Lewis, whatever the team is doing. And of course, obviously from a professional side, the team shouldn't be doing that. And if they do that, maybe it's time for Bottas to leave. Maybe it's time to go, right, James, it's Valtteri, and I'm a strong driver, and I want to go somewhere else. I want to go to a team that's, treating me well and giving me the resources to win. Because look at Ferrari, they're quite equal. They've always been equal. It's always been Seb and Kimi, and of course now it's Charles and Kimi. So I think that it should work like that. But I do feel, oh, for God's sake, are you kidding me? Oh, you stupid idiot.
Yeah,
Can I hear that?
doorbell.
Bloody doorbell, right. So leave that. So yeah, I feel like Bottas should be strong enough to, uphold that at Mercedes. But obviously, and in fairness, the team shouldn't be going like that. I do feel like it should be equal. But obviously, Bottas has shown in the past that he can fight against a team that is looking like it's in Lewis's corner. So I think that he should be up there. And of course, in my predictions, I said that Lewis is going to obviously win the World Championship. Bottas was going to be in P3. The reason I said that was, obviously, I do think that Charles is going to be there. Again, we haven't talked about Charles and Seb because I've put them in this position, Charles in P2 and Seb back in P6. But that's not the case. We're not talking about them at this time. So yeah, I do think that Bottas will have a very strong season, stronger than everyone thinks. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be on for the same thing. I think we'll get to Australia and it'll be another how about that. Do you think there'll be another how about that, Jordan? Do you think that, Valtteri will prove, well, you wrong, not me, obviously you, because I didn't say, I was so far down, but do you think Valtteri will prove us all wrong and finish, second place or third place and show that he is a strong driver in that Mercedes?
I think if he wins again, then certainly he could prove a lot of people wrong, and like myself, and I hope he does, because I like to see a driver that isn't expected to do well actually do well. And we've seen that before in Formula 1. We'll certainly see it again, where we'll be like, oh, I can't see this driver doing well. And then next thing you know, he's either world champion or he's finished higher than what we thought. So I'm all up for Bottas, proving us wrong. I've said I don't want to slip Bottas in any way. I don't want to say I'm a Bottas hater or anything like that, because I'm not. And I think he is a quality driver. I'm just assuming, I'm predicting that Mercedes will prioritise Lewis and maybe leave Valtteri behind. But that could spur Valtteri on and go, like you said, Lyle, earlier about no, like you are in Lewis's corner, but no, I'm Valtteri Bottas, and I'm going to show everybody, the doubters, I'm going to show everyone wrong. I'm going to show everyone my talent, my speed. I can fight for the championship. Rosberg beat him, Button beat him. Why can't I beat him? So I'm all up for it. I'm just that's my prediction of I can't see Bottas beating Hamilton at all. Even if they're there for another 3-4 years, I can't see Bottas beating Hamilton at all, but yeah, that's just my thought anyway.
Well, I don't think that they're going to beat him, and like we said with Albon, Jordan, you even said in your own words, Albon should be battling Verstappen. I mean, obviously we saw the second part of the season how he did. Verstappen did get a few retirements, but yeah, he was beating him really, and he needs to bring the fight. But nevertheless, we should have a good season ahead of us. Anyway, guys, that is the end of the show. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, leave it in the description box, but the comment section below, about everything we've talked about in this video. Verstappen, do you think that he can beat Lewis this year? Mercedes, Red Bull, Max versus Lewis, or is it just a teammate battle at the moment? Is Valtteri still here? I say yes. Very much like Nico Rosberg, and to be honest, the only thing in my mind that's stuck in Bottas is obviously Australia 2019. How about that? I won. I beat everyone. I beat Lewis when everyone was looking at Lewis. it's quite crazy, to be honest, like how Valtteri kind of goes about Formula One. It's really different. It's really two sides. And when he does win, it's interesting just to see how he does it. How he does it when all eyes are on Lewis and they're on Max. And again, is Albon going to get another? Is he going to get his maiden win this year? And if he does, is it going to be the same thing? Everyone's watching Max. No one's watching Alex. Well, do you know what? I certainly will be. And I know that Jordan will be. And I know that a heap of you guys will be as well. I'm definitely in his corner. And as I said in the prediction video, and I will throughout the 2020 season, the AlphaTauri Red Bull Trading Places battle is not over. It never will be over. I think that at the end of the season, it could be. But there's a long road ahead before the end of the season. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, guys, we'll see you later.
See you later, guys.